Let's talk constructing a resume. So, to do this, we'll start from the top. What I would recommend doing is actually finding out what you want to do before writing your resume. Really, you want your resume to be tailored towards a role of interest. So, find that job opportunity and then highlight the sections that are important. Highlight keywords that you want to include in your actual resume. Now, for your resume, we'll go with the header first. First off, you do not want your contact information, your header, in the actual header section of a Word document. The reason for this is it will get cut off completely. So instead, move it to the top of your document. Now, for the header, always start off with your name. But with your name, you do not want to include any type of rank or certifications. Including certifications is redundant with the lower part of your resume, and each space on your resume is precious. You do not want to waste time on redundancies. As for rank or any type of title that is not universal, do not put that before your name. It will just distract the reader. So just your basic name line is best practice. Now, after your name, here's what we'll get into your contact information. We'll start with your address. Address is first within the order of precedence. For your address, if you're applying directly to an organization, include your full physical address. A lot of employers will use that full physical address to actually track you and to keep you logged into their system. Also, some employers still are a little old school, and they will actually send the offer letter to your full physical address. Now, if you're posting your resume online, city and state is perfect. Now, here's one caveat for military and military spouses as you transition. If you are looking for jobs that are completely outside of where you're currently at, let's just say that you're in Hawaii and you're looking for a job in Maryland, then you can go ahead and either put Schofield Barracks, Hawaii, to let the reader know, hey, look, you are planning on moving. Or you can include a close relative's address who's in the area who you will actually be in constant correspondence with. Now, after the physical address, we'll get into the phone number. So physical address, phone number, again, order of precedence. For the phone number, never include a work number or a home phone number. You want to be the only person answering that phone. Plus, for the work number, you never want to associate past employment with future employment. So just your cell phone number works best. Again, you want to be the only one picking up that phone. Next, email. For your email, keep your email extremely professional. Best practice is to establish a separate email account just for your job search to keep everything categorized and to keep that actual email address extremely professional. Now, following your email, this one is up to you. You can include a LinkedIn address, but only include that LinkedIn address if your LinkedIn account is established. Otherwise, do not include it. For your LinkedIn account address, you can adjust it within LinkedIn. You can go into the settings and make it as condensed as possible. So that is your header. After your header, here's honestly where your resume can take a few different directions. Again, look at that job opportunity that you're interested in and see what's most important. Is your education best in line with that actual experience section? Or perhaps your experience section is best suited for, and that will best outline your skill sets that do pertain to the role of interest. Or maybe kind of all the above, and you want to condense everything into a summary to include perhaps keywords. When deciding how you want to formulate your resume, I would recommend never using an objective statement. Objective statements are perfect for a cover page. However, for an actual resume, stay away. They are going to pigeonhole you into a particular field, and they are not a reflection of your actual professional experience. So objective statements, stay away. Now for a summary. The summary is optional. You can go with or without, but if you do choose to use a summary, make sure you put that first before education or experience. For a summary is really all-encompassing. Again, you can include your experience and your education and really highlight what sets you apart. Think of your summary as a platform to really sell yourself. To let the interviewer know, hey, this is what sets me apart, while incorporating keywords and phrases. Also, for a summary section, you can include core competencies, but only if you're including hard skills. Now, following a summary, you can choose what really correlates more, your education or your experience, and then front load what section holds more weight. Let's just say it's education. For your education section, you can list either institution or degree. It just depends on, honestly, which one holds more weight. If your school holds more weight than your degree, then front load your school. If your degree holds more weight, again, vice versa. Now, for a degree, if you got above a 3.0, include it. If not, don't worry about it. Also, you can include any set accomplishments as well, but no more than 3 bullet points for the actual education accomplishment section. So Dean's List, or if you were the D1 football player, varsity coach, that type of information is fine, but again, no more than 3 bullets under that education section. Now, for the education section, also be sure to keep your dates consistent. If you're using just years throughout the course of your entire resume, make sure to just use years for your education section, or months and years. Again, as long as it's consistent throughout your entire resume, you are golden. Now, for using months and years versus years, if you have gaps in employment, let's just say a 6-month gap, what I would recommend doing is using years throughout your entire resume. If you do not have that gap in employment, then just go ahead and use months and years. Also, for your education section, you can couple it with a certification section if you do have key certifications to include. Now, let's go into the experience section. Again, the order can change. You can put your education certifications at the bottom of your resume and your experience first, or vice versa, just depending upon which has more of an impact. So for your experience section, if you stick to this format, you will be set. Your experience section is not a novel. Instead, it's a short snippet of what really sets you apart. So what I'd recommend doing is first starting off with the day in the life. What do you do? How many people do you lead? What operations are you performing? That's the type of information to front load with. So what systems do you work on? Are you in charge of a life cycle project? If so, what type of projects are you managing? That type of basic information for the experience section. Start off with a strong action verb, get into the quantifiable information, and then the result. After you front load your day in the life experience, then you can include set accomplishments. For set accomplishments, include any type of projects that you ran that are applicable, any type of process improvement initiatives, or any awards or recognitions. All of that is extremely important. But with that accomplishment section, only include what a reader will actually know. So don't include awards or accomplishments that someone won't understand the importance of unless you preface with what you actually did. Now, for your experience section, try to condense the last 8 to 10 years if you do have extensive experience. So what you want to do is you really want to focus on those last 8 to 10 years. Anything beyond 10 years, you can condense and really consolidate into maybe 1 or 2 different job descriptions. And the reason for that is if experience is outdated, then you don't want it to be the focal point. Also, for the experience section, try to use a reverse chronological format opposed to a functional format. If you have a functional format, employers will know that you're either trying to bring to light skills that are outdated or you're trying to hide massive gaps in employment. If you are looking to somewhat mask, I don't want to say hide, but if you are looking to align gaps in employment, there are a few different ways to do that. If you volunteered, if you worked part-time, if you worked in more of a contract type capacity, or if you're in the military in a reserve capacity, you can put active in a reserve status. So those are a few ways to really align gaps in employment, again, through that part-time experience, volunteer, really anything that does correlate. You don't want redundancies, as mentioned before, with your actual resume. So instead, what you want to do is you really want to elaborate more on the most recent experience and put less emphasis on the outdated experience. So if you have the same role twice, do not copy and paste the exact same job description. Instead, what I would recommend doing is keeping the more recent role as your focal point and making that role seem a little bit more in depth just to show that career progression. Now, after your experience section, here's where you can include any type of affiliations, publishings, training, or additional certifications. But just again, try to make sure everything is in line with the job description. You do not want to include any type of certifications, affiliations that really don't have any emphasis on the role of interest. Okay, now just a few best practices. First off, what I'd recommend doing is trying to really align different tenses. For tense, you want to make sure that you are using the proper tense. You never want to use present tense with a past role. Honestly, to make it easier, you could use past tense throughout your entire resume or just present tense with that current position. You want to be able to keep your resume onto either 1 or 2 pages. 1 page is perfect for less than 10 years of experience, but more than 10 years of experience, you will probably want to extend onto 2 pages just to make sure you are including all of the pertinent information. Additionally, now with font, you want your resume to be aesthetically pleasing. With this, try to stay no less than size 10 font or half-inch margins. Honestly, if a reviewer is looking at your resume and it is hard to decipher, they will move on to the next candidate. So you want your resume to be aesthetically pleasing, but you don't want it to be over the top. You want to be recognized by the content on your resume opposed to the format. However, you do still want it to be very easy to read and very, again, aesthetically pleasing. Okay, when doing so, make sure you pay attention to the smallest detail. You don't want to start off with, just say, a summary, for example, saying you're detail-oriented, and then through the course of your resume, you have misspellings or inconsistent verbiage. Instead, pay attention to every detail, have multiple people review your resume. And those are just a few tips on constructing a resume.